How many times have you stayed in a relationship, a friendship, or any connection that deep down you knew wasn't good for you? How many times have you held on to someone, even when your soul was screaming to let go? You see, too many of us are afraid to cut people off, afraid of what it might look like, afraid of the guilt that comes with walking away. But let me tell you, sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is walk away silently. No drama, no confrontation, just peace. Because when you protect your peace, when you choose your growth over comfort, that's when you truly begin to rise. You know, life is about growth. It's about moving forward, evolving, and becoming the best version of yourself. But here's the thing, not everyone is going to come along for the ride. You might want them to. And you might even try to drag them with you, kicking and screaming. But the truth is, some people just aren't meant to stay in your life forever. And when you realize that, when you understand that some folks are holding you back, it's time to cut them off. And sometimes the best way to do it is silently. Let me break it down for you. Cutting people off silently doesn't mean being cold, cruel, or vindictive. It doesn't mean you're walking around with some grudge or chip on your shoulder. No. What it means is you're making a conscious decision to remove toxic energy from your life without engaging in a messy confrontation, without feeding into the drama. And it's about understanding that your peace of mind, your well-being, your growth are far more important than holding on to relationships that no longer serve you. Now, I know what you're thinking. Denzel, it's hard to just cut people off, especially when they've been in your life for years or when they're family, friends, people you care about, and you're right, it is hard. But let me tell you something, not everyone is meant to go where you're going. Not everyone is aligned with your purpose. And if you're carrying people with you that weigh you down, how do you expect to rise? How do you expect to soar? You see, we all have people in our lives who drain us. Maybe it's that friend who only calls you when they need something. Maybe it's that family member who's always criticizing, never supporting. Maybe it's someone you've been close to for years, but lately you've noticed that being around them leaves you feeling depleted, anxious, or just plain unhappy. These people, they might not be bad people. They might not even know the effect they're having on you. But if someone constantly brings negativity into your life, if someone constantly holds you back, you have to make a decision. This decision isn't about them. It's not about pointing fingers or assigning blame. It's about you. It's about protecting your energy. It's about recognizing that you're responsible for your own happiness and well-being. You see, we often feel guilty for wanting to walk away from people, especially when we've known them for a long time. But longevity doesn't always equal loyalty. Just because someone's been in your life for a long time doesn't mean they're adding value to it. You've got to ask yourself, what am I sacrificing by holding on to this person? Are you sacrificing your peace, your happiness, your mental clarity, your growth? Because those things are too precious to give away for the sake of keeping someone around. And here's the thing, cutting someone off silently doesn't mean you hate them. It doesn't mean you're harboring resentment or anger. It simply means you're choosing to prioritize yourself. You're choosing to step into a space where you can flourish, where you can breathe freely without the weight of negativity or toxic energy pulling you down. When you decide to cut someone off silently, you don't owe them an explanation. You don't need to justify why you're doing what you're doing. Sometimes we get caught up in thinking we have to explain ourselves or that we have to offer closure. But here's the truth, closure doesn't always come from a conversation. Sometimes closure comes from within. It comes from you deciding that you've had enough, that you deserve better, and that you're ready to move forward without carrying that baggage. And don't mistake this for an easy task. Cutting people off silently takes strength, it takes courage. It takes self-awareness. Because the moment you start choosing yourself, the moment you start removing people from your life who don't support your growth, there will be discomfort. You might feel lonely. You might question if you're doing the right thing. You might even doubt yourself, wondering if you're being selfish. But here's what I want you to remember, self-care is not selfish. Prioritizing your well-being is not selfish. In fact, it's necessary. Hello? You've got dreams, you've got goals, you've got places you want to be and things you want to accomplish. But you can't get there if you're constantly weighed down by negative energy. You can't get there if you're always surrounded by people who don't support your vision or your growth. So yes, it's hard to let people go. But it's even harder to stay stuck where you are because you're too afraid to move forward without them. Sometimes the silence speaks louder than words. You don't need to engage in a confrontation or a heated discussion. You don't need to make a scene or burn bridges. Silence is powerful. Silence is graceful. When you cut someone off silently, you're telling them and yourself that your peace matters more than their presence in your life. You're telling the universe that you're ready to create space for new energy, new opportunities, new relationships that align with who you are and where you're going. And here's something you need to understand. Not everyone will understand your decision. Some people might be confused, hurt, or even angry. But their reaction isn't your responsibility. You can't control how others feel or how they respond to your choices. What you can control is how you choose to live your life. You can control how you protect your energy and how you cultivate an environment that supports your growth. Too often we hold on to people out of obligation. We think that just because someone is family or just because we've been friends for years, we owe them our time, our energy, our presence. But loyalty is not about sticking around when it's harmful to your spirit. Loyalty is about staying true to yourself, your values, and your well-being. And sometimes staying true to yourself means walking away quietly without fanfare, without explanation. Now, cutting people off silently doesn't mean you stop caring about them. It doesn't mean you wish them ill or that you want to see them fail. On the contrary, you can still care about someone deeply while recognizing that their presence in your life is no longer serving you. You can love someone from a distance. You can wish them well from afar. But that doesn't mean they need to be in your inner circle. You see, your inner circle should be sacred. It should be filled with people who uplift you, who support your dreams, who encourage your growth. Your inner circle should be a reflection of the person you're striving to become. If someone isn't adding value to that space, if they're not contributing positively to your journey, then it's time to reevaluate their role in your life. And let me be clear, cutting someone off silently doesn't mean you're never going to speak to them again. It doesn't mean you're severing all ties forever. It simply means you're creating distance, setting boundaries, and choosing to protect your energy. And over time, people change. Relationships evolve. And sometimes, people you once connected with deeply may no longer align with where you're headed. That's okay. It's a natural part of life. But what's important is that you have the strength and the wisdom to recognize when it's time to let go. The beauty of cutting people off silently is that it allows you to maintain your dignity and your peace. You're not engaging in unnecessary conflict. You're not getting dragged into emotional turmoil. You're simply choosing to step back, to retreat into your own space, and to focus on what truly matters: your growth, your goals, your peace. Letting go is never easy, but sometimes holding on is even harder. And when you choose to cut people off silently, you're choosing to let go of the things that no longer serve you. You're choosing to create space for the things that will help you grow, and the people who will support you, and the opportunities that will move you forward. So as you go through life, remember this: not everyone is meant to stay with you for the whole journey. Some people are only meant to be with you for a season, to teach you a lesson, or to help you along the way. And once that season is over, it's okay to move on. It's okay to cut ties silently and with grace, knowing that by doing so, you're creating space for something better. It's not about being ruthless. It's about being intentional. It's about recognizing that your time, your energy, your peace are precious. And not everyone deserves access to that. So, if someone is draining you, if someone is pulling you down, if someone is keeping you from becoming the person you're meant to be, cut them off silently. You don't owe anyone an explanation for prioritizing your well-being. You don't need to justify why you're choosing peace over chaos, growth over stagnation. Just know that by making this choice, you're taking a powerful step toward living a life that is aligned with your highest self. And in doing so, you'll find that the people who truly belong in your life, the ones who support your growth and your journey, will naturally gravitate towards you. Because when you're at peace with yourself, you attract peace into your life. When you choose growth, you attract people who want to grow with you. So cut them off silently. Not out of malice, but out of love, love for yourself, love for your journey, and love for the life you're creating. And watch how your world begins to shift. Watch how, when you clear out the negativity, you make room for the positivity, the growth, and the peace that's waiting for you. You deserve that. You owe it to yourself. That decision is to protect your peace. Protecting your peace is one of the most powerful acts of self-love. It's about creating boundaries and ensuring that you aren't allowing anyone to rob you of your joy, your energy, or your purpose. Now look, I get it. Cutting people off sounds extreme, especially if you're someone who values loyalty, who holds relationships close to the heart. But sometimes silence is the most respectful way to exit someone's life. Sometimes the most powerful move you can make is to simply walk away without explanation, without drama, without any grand announcements. Just walk away. Why silently? Because sometimes silence speaks louder than words. Sometimes walking away without a scene shows a level of maturity, a level of self-awareness. You're saying, I value my energy enough to not engage in any back and forth. I value myself enough to not explain why I'm stepping back. I'm just doing it because I know what's best for me. When you cut someone off silently, you are making a clear statement: my time, my peace, my growth are too valuable to be wasted. You're telling the universe, I'm ready to elevate, and I won't allow anyone to hold me back. Now, cutting people off doesn't mean you don't care. It doesn't mean you don't love them. But there's a point in life where you've got to put yourself first. You've got to protect your space. If someone is causing you more harm than good, if their presence in your life is creating more pain than peace, it's time to let them go. And not in a loud, dramatic way, just quietly, gracefully, and with love. And trust me, sometimes those people won't even realize you've moved on until they look around and you're no longer there. But here's the tricky part: sometimes the people you need to cut off aren't toxic in the traditional sense. They might not be doing anything overtly wrong. They might even think they can help in you. But maybe they just don't get you. Maybe their energy doesn't match yours. Maybe they're not supportive of your dreams, or they don't believe in your vision. Maybe they're too comfortable with you staying exactly where you are. And let me tell you something: staying stagnant just to make someone else comfortable, that's not an option. That's not how you grow. Growth means change. And change often means leaving some people behind. It means recognizing that not everyone is meant to be part of your journey forever. Some people are only meant to be with you for a season, and when that season ends, it's okay to move on. You don't have to make a big show of it. You don't have to justify why you're choosing to move forward without them. You just quietly shift your focus, elevate your energy, and continue on your path. The reality is, not everyone is going to understand your journey. Not everyone is going to support the changes you're making. Some people will be comfortable with the version of you that they've always known, the version of you that they can control, that fits neatly into their idea of who you should be. But as you evolve, as you grow, you'll start to realize that you need to be surrounded by people who support the version of you that you're becoming, not the version of you that you used to be. And that's why protecting your peace is so important. It's not about cutting people off just for the sake of it. It's about making sure that your energy is aligned with the people you surround yourself with. It's about ensuring that the relationships in your life are serving you, helping you grow, and bringing positivity into your space. Anything less than that, it's got to go. Now, don't get me wrong. This process isn't easy. It takes a lot of strength to walk away from people, especially those who've been in your life for a long time. It can feel lonely at times. You might question whether you're making the right decision. You might even feel guilty for choosing yourself, but let me tell you something: choosing yourself is never a bad decision. Prioritizing your peace is never a mistake. It's an act of self-love. And it's something that will ultimately lead you to a more fulfilling, more authentic life. Think of it like this: your energy, your peace, your well-being, they're like a garden. If you don't tend to your garden, if you let weeds take over, it won't thrive. Weeds might not always be immediately harmful, but over time, they can choke out the good. They can prevent your garden from growing and blooming the way it's supposed to. So when you silently cut people off, when you create distance between yourself and those who aren't contributing to your growth, you're pulling out the weeds. You're making room for the flowers to flourish. This doesn't mean you have to shut people out completely. It doesn't mean you have to cut off every single person who disagrees with you or who doesn't understand your path. But it does mean that you have to be discerning about who you allow into your inner circle. You have to be intentional about the energy you let into your space. Because not everyone is meant to have access to you. Not everyone deserves a front row seat to your life. When you start protecting your peace, you'll notice a shift. You'll feel lighter. You'll feel more focused. You'll feel more in tune with your own energy and your own purpose. And the people who are meant to be in your life, the ones who truly support you in your growth, they'll be there. They'll understand the boundaries you've set, and they'll respect them. They won't take it personally when you need to step back, when you need to focus on yourself. Because those are the people who genuinely want to see you win. Those are the people who are rooting for you, even if it means they're no longer as close to you as they once were. And let's be clear, protecting your peace doesn't mean isolating yourself. It doesn't mean cutting off everyone and retreating into a bubble. What it means is that you're creating a space for the right people, the right energy, the right opportunities to come into your life. It means you're prioritizing the things that bring you joy, that make you feel fulfilled, that push you towards your highest potential. The more you protect your peace, the more you'll realize how much of your energy was being drained by unnecessary stress, by people who didn't have your best interests at heart, by situations that weren't serving your growth. You'll start to see that when you cut those things off, when you do it silently, without drama, without engaging in negativity, you're left with a clearer, more focused mind. You're left with the energy to pursue your passions, to follow your purpose, to truly live the life you're meant to live. Now, some people won't like this. They won't like the fact that you're setting boundaries, that you're choosing to prioritize your peace over their needs or their expectations. They might call you selfish. They might say you've changed. And you know what? You have changed. You've grown. You've evolved. And that's exactly what you're supposed to do. Change is inevitable. And growth is a choice. Every day you have the choice to either stay stuck in the same patterns, surrounded by the same people, or to step into a new chapter of your life, one that is filled with more peace, more clarity, more purpose. But you can't do that if you're constantly weighed down by the negativity of others, by the drama, by the toxic energy that drains you. That's why cutting people off silently is such a powerful act. It's not about being petty or spiteful, it's about choosing yourself. It's about recognizing that you have the power to control who and what you allow into your life. And when you make that choice, when you decide to protect your peace, you're telling the universe that you're ready for more. You're ready for the abundance, the joy, the success that's waiting for you. So if you're finding yourself in situations where you're constantly drained, constantly stressed, constantly feeling like you're not enough, it's time to make a change. It's time to cut off the people, the situations, the habits that are no longer serving you. Do it silently. Do it gracefully. And watch how your life begins to transform. Because here's the truth: you can't pour from an empty cup. You can't give to others. You can't pursue your dreams. You can't live your purpose if you're constantly depleted. You've got to fill yourself up first. You've got to protect your peace. You've got to create boundaries that allow you to thrive, to grow, to become the person you're meant to be. And once you do that, once you make the decision to prioritize your peace, you'll start to see everything else fall into place. You'll attract the right people, the right opportunities, the right energy into your life. You'll be more in tune with your purpose, more aligned with your vision. You'll be living from a place of abundance rather than scarcity. So protect your peace. It's not just an act of self-care, it's an act of self-love. It's a declaration that you are worthy of joy, of happiness, of fulfillment. And it's a reminder that you have the power to create the life you want, the life you deserve. Growth requires sacrifice. It requires hard decisions. And yes, it requires cutting off the people who don't believe in where you're going. You can't be worried about hurting someone's feelings when your future is on the line. You can't hold yourself back just because someone else isn't ready to see you rise. So you cut them off silently, and you keep it moving. And look, the hardest part about cutting people off is the guilt. That guilt will creep in and try to convince you that you're doing something wrong. It'll tell you that you're abandoning people, that you're being selfish, that you owe them an explanation. But let me tell you something, you owe it to yourself to be happy. You owe it to yourself to grow. You owe it to yourself to be surrounded by people who lift you up, not bring you down. It's not selfish to prioritize your peace. It's necessary. And you know what? Sometimes cutting people off silently is the wake-up call they need. Sometimes your absence is what will make them realize the impact they had on your life. They'll start to reflect. And they'll start to question why you distanced yourself. And maybe, just maybe, they'll begin their own journey of growth. But that's not your concern. Your concern is making sure you're surrounding yourself with the right people, the ones who push you, challenge you, and support your vision. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you should walk away from every person who disagrees with you or every person who makes a mistake. No, we're all human. We all mess up. But there's a difference between someone who genuinely cares for you and occasionally stumbles, and someone who continuously drains your energy, disrespects your boundaries, or undermines your growth. And it's up to you to know that difference. It's up to you to make that call. And let me tell you, once you start cutting people off, once you start protecting your peace, things start to shift. You'll find yourself surrounded by people who get it, who understand the journey you're on. You'll find that your energy will shift. You'll feel lighter, more focused, more in tune with your purpose. Because when you clear out the clutter, when you remove the people who aren't aligned with your vision, you make space for the ones who are. You see, it's not just about cutting people off, it's about making room for the right people to enter your life. It's about creating an environment that supports your growth, that fuels your fire. And when you do that, when you surround yourself with people who uplift you, who challenge you to be better, who believe in you, you start to elevate. Your whole life starts to elevate. But it starts with that first step. It starts with being brave enough to say, this isn't working for me anymore, silently stepping away. No drama. No explanations, just silence. And in that silence, you find your power. You find your peace. Now, I'm not saying this is going to be easy. In fact, it might be one of the hardest things you do, but remember this, you are not responsible for anyone else's growth. You are responsible for your own. And if someone is holding you back, if someone is not aligned with where you're going, you have every right to know. You have an obligation to remove them from your life. When you start to realize that your energy is finite, you'll begin to understand why protecting it is crucial. The more energy you spend on people who drain you, the less energy you have for yourself, your dreams, and your growth. Your peace of mind, your purpose, your goals, they all deserve your full attention. And the people who truly care about you, who truly understand where you're going, they won't mind if you need to take a step back. They won't mind if you need to focus on yourself for a while. The ones who do mind, the ones who take offense to your growth, who feel threatened by your progress, those are the ones who were never really for you in the first place. And that's the hardest pill to swallow. Sometimes the people you thought would be in your corner forever, the ones you thought would be cheering you on, they're the ones who secretly hope you'll stay the same. They're the ones who fear your growth because it forces them to confront their own stagnation. But that's not your burden to carry. You are not responsible for someone else's inability to grow. You are not responsible for dimming your light just so someone else feels comfortable in your presence. You are responsible for shining as bright as you can, for fulfilling your potential, for becoming everything you're meant to be. So yes, you cut them off silently, You step back and let them figure it out on their own. No hard feelings, no bitterness, just an understanding that your paths are no longer aligned. And you know what? Sometimes that silent departure is the catalyst they need to start their own journey of growth. But even if it's not, that's okay. Your journey isn't tied to theirs. The guilt might still linger. You might question whether you could have done more, said more, tried harder. But remember this, your responsibility is to yourself first. You can't pour from an empty cup. You can't show up for others if you're constantly drained, constantly sacrificing your peace for the sake of someone else's comfort. At some point, you have to choose yourself. And when you do, you'll find that everything else starts to fall into place. When you cut people off silently, you're not just walking away from them. You're walking towards something greater. You're walking toward a version of yourself that is stronger, more focused, more aligned with your purpose. And that version of yourself doesn't have time for drama. That version of yourself doesn't have time for people who don't believe in you, who don't respect your boundaries, who don't support your growth. And let's be real, growth isn't always pretty. It's messy. It's uncomfortable. It forces you to confront parts of yourself and your relationships that you might have been avoiding. But it's necessary. It's the only way you'll reach your full potential. And sometimes that means leaving people behind. Not because you don't care about them, but because you care about yourself enough to do what's best for you. That's the key. You're doing this for you. You're cutting people off not out of spite, not out of anger, but out of love for yourself. Out of a deep understanding that you deserve peace, that you deserve to be surrounded by people who uplift you, who push you to be better, who believe in your vision. And when you start to operate from that place of self-love, you'll notice a shift. And you'll notice that the right people start to show up in your life. The ones who match your energy, who respect your boundaries, who support your growth. It's like the universe responds to the energy you put out when you start prioritizing your peace, when you start cutting off the people who drain you. The universe starts sending people into your life who are aligned with your purpose. People who see you, who understand you, who are ready to grow with you. And that's what it's all about. It's about creating a life that feels good, that feels aligned, that feels aligned, that feels purposeful. And you can't do that if you're constantly weighed down by people who don't believe in you, who don't respect your boundaries, who don't support your growth. So yes, it's hard, it's uncomfortable, it's lonely at times, but it's worth it. Because at the end of the day, you're responsible for your own happiness, you're responsible for your own growth. And if that means cutting people off, if that means walking away in silence, then so be it. In that silence, you'll find your power. In that silence, you'll find your peace. And in that peace, you'll find the clarity you need to keep moving forward, to keep growing, to keep becoming the best version of yourself. So don't be afraid to cut people off. Don't be afraid to prioritize your peace. Don't be afraid to choose yourself. Because when you do, you'll find that everything else starts to fall into place. You'll attract the right people, the right opportunities, the right energy into your life. And you'll start to realize that protecting your peace isn't just an act of self-care, it's an act of self-preservation. It's a declaration that you are worthy of joy, of growth, of success. And that's what it's all about. So as I wrap this up, I want you to think about the people in your life. I want you to reflect on your relationships, your friendships, your connections. Are they adding to your growth, or are they holding you back? Are they helping you elevate, or are they keeping you stagnant? And if you find that someone isn't serving your growth, if you find that someone's energy is pulling you down, then it's time. It's time to cut them off, silently, gracefully, with love, and keep moving forward. Because at the end of the day, your journey is yours, your growth is yours. And sometimes, in order to rise, you've got to let go of the things and the people that are weighing you down. So take that step. Protect your peace. And watch how your life begins to change when you prioritize yourself. Oh,